The Knightling is an open-world action-adventure game set in a colorful world of knights, knaves, and everyone in between. The character designs in this game are a significant part of what gives it such a rich identity, because seemingly everyone in this world is fitted with a voice-muffling mask of some sort. What are the lore implications of this? Is everyone ugly? Is the unclothed face a cultural taboo? Did the devs want to save money by only having to localize 2 voice actors? It's unclear. I do think there are thematic implications as to why all the humans in this kingdom wear face coverings, based on story reveals later, but I just want to look at the face coverings themselves. I doubt this will cover all the characters comprehensively, but there will be some later game ones included here, so spoiler alert for those. Our protagonist Knightling wears something like a helmet, only more adorable. It's unclear if it's a mask that extends over the mouth, but one has to assume. And what the material is, we don't know. It could be hard, could be cloth. That little sleeve at the top looks like wool, even. The scarf around the bottom of the mask isn't entirely unique among the characters you meet, I don't think, but it does help the Knightling to stand out. That and the long ribbon extending like a ponytail plume out of the top of the helmet and down almost to trail on the floor. Not smart for combat, but stylish, and it's a classic design choice for action platformer game player characters. And the scarf might not be a scarf at all, if we look at the back here. Could be a long, stretchy turtleneck, or a wraparound collar even. Any which way, it works well for a character whose arc involves feeling timid and finding their voice to some extent. I don't know if this was an intentional parallel, but the Knightling's mentor, Sir Lionstone, has a mane, if you will, of red hair the same color as the Knightling's ribbon, and it's tied into a long braid down the back, so it could be that the ribbon is in emulation of Lionstone. He also has a much more elaborate leonine headpiece, fitting for his name. I was actually unsure at first if it was his actual head, but he too is muffled in-game, and then I reminded myself that in the opening flashback he's wearing a standard knight's helmet. Maybe it's a perk of his status these days, that he gets a special cool hat? It's not even certain that's his actual hair. If it is, it'd put him in the minority in this world, letting the locks fly free. Also, unrelated, but his white and gold lion motif reminds me of the White Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I wonder if his sword talks to him. The Queen of Clesea, or Clesia? I'm not sure. Her name is Aspasia. She has a crown, of course, but dangling from the crown are a veil of chimes, which are an item I wouldn't necessarily associate with royalty, but I like it. I like the veil imagery, and how her sight and hearing must be obscured by the pretty chimes, which makes sense considering what you learn about her. Her magenta body sock underneath the chimes gives an impression of fine silk, fittingly. The gold crown itself has those little gold leaves, and most notably, the tallest spire of the crown has, inset, a gem of collyrium, which is very interesting that she has that on her person. The Queen's royal guards have these wide-brimmed pot-lid helmets that give them a slightly buffoonish aspect. Makes them seem a little encumbered, and it's funny that the grill out of which they see is angled down, so I wonder if their vision is impaired by that, and they can only see towards the ground. I mean, looking at this from above, their field of view is pretty crazy. They cannot see the sky with this brim. I like their little plume, though. Seth, Baron of the Outskirts, is one of the few other authority figures we meet. His mask is a tied-off bag, which immediately brings to mind a coin purse, which would of course be symbolic for the character's defining trait of greed. It's worth noting that there are other characters in the game with coin purse heads, and naturally they're merchants, shopkeepers. But Seth is distinct in that he shares the same shade of magenta as the Queen's body sock, denoting his royal status and wealth, perhaps. The Baron's cook, Gustav, by contrast, is wearing a plank of wood on his face, with a Ninja Turtle mask tied around it. I guess to disguise the identity of the tree his plank came from. He also has another mask under the plank under the headband. Seems like it'd be stuffy under there, especially in a kitchen. Let's go meet some other commoners. There's all sorts of masks in the city and fields of this kingdom. Queendom? Some of them are pretty standard, pretty safe. Some of my favorites, though, include the log heads. Just chop a log and carve out a hole for your eyes. We even have virgin side hole log head and Chad end hole log head. I do enjoy how the twig branch makes for a little Pinocchio nose on the side holers. For masks made of wood, fashioned into tools, fashioned into head dressing, we have your bucket-head wine merchant, Dion, or Dion. We have your birdhouse heads. I have to imagine that attracts the occasional confused bird. The metal pothead bartender has the right idea. You never know when a drunk will get rowdy and throw something. It's amusing that both pot-headed characters sell alcohol, maybe a grape-crushing or distilling connection. And then there are the good folk, the salt of the earth, who've chosen to wear sacks or paper bags on their heads. Gotta be scratchy, gotta be brittle. But I guess it's easy enough to repurpose the bag your groceries came in. Perhaps even a crate of fruit? Notably, some of the citizens living under the bridge are the ones wearing paper and cardboard on their heads, which ties into the class disparity brought up a bit during city quests. Though there are also people like this lighthouse keeper who choose the cardboard box life. Naturally, some farmers don a bundle of straw. Might keep them cool under the beating sun while they tend their crops, but again, scratchy. Interestingly, there's one city dweller I saw who has a nicer outfit, but a differently colored bundle of straw on their head. It's possible this is just some wood again, but it doesn't have that wood texture. Maybe someone from the sticks moved up in the world and got a house in the city? Speaking of rarer townsfolk, there's one lady with a cloth head wrap and a cloth facial veil with tassels. Maybe she's a noble? She does share that magenta coloring in her design. There are also a couple of kids running around town with unique masks, one with a knit cap-like topper to their mask, and a scarf-like collar similar to the Knightling, except woolen as well. Cozy during the winter months, I imagine. The other is a bare-headed child with goggle-like eyes, which is one of the more unusual designs around, considering there's only a few animal-based designs in the game, and this one is very overt and cute. Both of these kids wear gloves and suspenders, which makes me wonder if they're apprentices in some industrial line of work like blacksmithing. My favorite design in the city is Cassandra, the fortune teller. She has a full-on crystal ball for a head, swirling mist and all. It's a level of commitment to the bit that I hope draws in customers, for her sake. Can she see out of that thing? Is it like a one-way mirror? I like how the crystal ball even has a stand that's like a neck collar. Rapso the tailor is another striking townsfolk design, in that she's got a scissors-shaped ribbon atop her mask. Or is that her hair? I think the blades of the scissors are at least supposed to evoke bangs of hair. If it's hair, she may win the award for most anime-headed style in the game. I'm actually leaning towards it being her hair now because the scissor handle loops, at least, are coming out of a hole in the top of her mask, I think. Either way, her elaborate style makes sense for a career fashionista. I'm not going to dwell on any of the standard guards patrolling about, other than to remark on how some of them appear to have a shinobi-esque mask, some of them are more traditional knights, some of those knights have hoods, and some of the guards seem to have protruding hair in the form of these buns or knots, which as I said is relatively uncommon overall. Alex, the librarian, is not only one of the more complicated dressers, but one of the most identifiably dressed. Atop her mask is worn a pair of big glasses and a stylish tam o' shanter bonnet, suggesting a worldly scholar. And hey, her hair's out in a sensible bun. Actually, the bonnet hat combined with the cool punctuation printed skirt, which could be considered a sort of kilt, makes me think we're going for a Scottish angle here. Her whole outfit is cool, really. I'm not really commenting on the bodies of these character designs, but I have to mention something I only noticed while looking at her more carefully, which is that she has a peg leg, a wooden prosthetic in place of her left foot. Again, the impression of worldliness of a traveled lass. A souvenir from an ill-fated adventure that forced her to settle down? From following in her mother's footsteps? Because it could also be seen as a connection to her adventuresome mother, Anaya, who sports a scarf similar to her daughter's at the base of a very different head dressing. She's got a buttoned-up hood over a binocular-like apparatus popping out of the void. Not only does this communicate her own worldliness and forward-looking disposition, but the impersonal lenses in the shadow of her hood lend an air of ambiguity to her character at first, as if to make us question if she's trustworthy. Like she's a little bit hidden, add a little bit of a remove from what she observes. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But look, she has a bun like her daughter, except this one's a part of her hood? Is her hair bun inside the hood bun? I suppose it protects the bun from the elements. Just as Anaya's binocular face gets across her disposition and skill set, so do the full-on binocular masks of the various cartographers get across their whole deal. I could see this apparatus being very functional for their line of work, rather than the typical symbolism of other designs we've seen. Plus, the scarf and knit cap suggest preparation for colder climates, even as the somewhat pin-headed shape to their noggin suggests maybe an overly focused, slightly scatterbrained approach to life as they pursue each new point on the map. I liken that representative design to the anvil helmet of Master Tornbold, the blacksmith. Perfectly matches not only his occupation, but his hard-headed nature and sturdy work ethic. Plus, you have to be strong of body and will to carry an anvil on your shoulders, even a hollow one. The anvil heads of other blacksmiths, like Druve, make a little less sense, what with their lazy attitude. I might have given them a tongs hat or something, but let's headcanon it and say that Druve's anvil is made of a lighter metal than Tornbold's. There's this little carved symbol on the back of the anvils. Looks like a flower, or maybe a fan. Something about anvils and fans is tickling some particle of knowledge in my brain, but I can't figure the connection. Let me know in the comments if you know why this symbol's here. If it's a flower, that might simply be the city's symbol, or sigil. I believe there's a flower in the Queen's design as well. Anyway, the blacksmiths also have their apprentices, the mallet-headed children, which sounds like an insult from the 19th century. It kind of speaks to their position that they wear the tool with which metalwork is beaten against the anvils of their masters. That, to me, is an early indicator that the Knightling's best friend Ginny isn't limited in her role as Master Tornbold's apprentice. She wears protective goggles over a leathery face mask, her hair tied back. It immediately shows you that she's a tinkerer, maybe an inventor, into mechanics and engineering, perhaps beyond the scope of simple metalwork. I'm actually once again not sure if that's her real hair or if it's, a hair-shaped yarn arrangement? Doesn't it kind of give yarn energy? I like the alternating color palette anyway. I also want to note that her overall colors complement the Knightlings pretty well, which is cute. Moving on, a step up from commoners, we have a few knight characters with unique designs. It's unclear to me whether Sir Boulderbash, the Academy headmaster, is the same trainer who appears at every outpost for your combat upgrades, or if it's intended to be other identical knights. Regardless, Sir Boulderbash has a very fun helmet, featuring a tall headpiece flanked by enormous curved horns protruding out. It makes him seem both combat-oriented, in a way a ram might be raring for conflict, and slightly ornamental in their size and ostentatiousness. fitting for a potentially sedentary headmaster lifestyle. There's something of the hunting trophy mounted on the lodge wall in this design. I find Sir Montecchi's helmet design impressive in how it somehow reflects his character without doing anything crazy. The wide jaw that's a little too bulbous, suggesting a lantern-jawed male heroism or handsomeness that's distorted, combined with the overall long face, so to speak. To me, it kind of evokes a Habsburg jaw. Again, distortion in this knight's ostensible good breeding. A cartoonish lens on this self-proclaimed hero. The long face, combined with his eye hole, reminiscent of sad eyebrows, render him slightly pathetic looking even as he boasts. And that hat, in my opinion, is far too fancy for fieldwork. It's easier to take Sir Arjun seriously, given his physical stature and the challenge he presents in the limited time we spend with him. But it's still hard to regard him as a total badass when he's rocking the twin tails. I mean, dude, you rock the lustrous pigtails. I don't think that's his real hair. I think it's a knight thing, like a plume attached to the helmet. His almost fleur-de-lis shaped eye hole is pretty neat. Or is it like a church symbol of some sort that's reminding me of? I'm not sure, but the size and shape of the hole make him seem more open than menacing, which fits. There are generic hooded knights who share a similar eye opening on their helmets, but the shape is a little sharper, giving them a more intense expression. Sir Arjun's liege lady, Dame Odwing, has my favorite knight design in the game, if you can call her a knight. First of all, she's a noble, and yet she has the armor and air of a no-nonsense leader who gets her hands dirty. And she sports one of the few animal motif masks in the game, as befits her name. A metallic helmet shaped like a bird's beak. But the fact that she's bird-themed also potentially points to her nature of being higher in the social food chain. And the historical connection between nobles and predator birds brings to mind an aloof, sporting mentality about things that might more directly affect the commoners below her perch. Her hair is kind of a combination between sweeping tail feathers and a 40s Rosie the Riveter hairstyle with a headband, which once again seems to point to a go-get-'em attitude from this bird lady. The fact that the ponytail is coiled up and pointed forward suggests the same, like a scorpion tail waiting to strike. She is a desert dame, after all. To wrap up, I'll go over some of the bandit designs. I think they're pretty fun when you take a good look at them. The common fodder look surprisingly dastardly up close. Triangular hoods to hide their identity, topped by a somewhat ragged feather. In fact, multiple bandit classes have a red feather. I know feathered caps aren't a design element unique to enemies in this game, but for them it has an effect of almost being a red flag, saying, watch out. There are these leather-faced guys, almost like a scarecrow all patched together. And I love these archers who just yanked their beat-up wide-brimmed hats over their heads and cut out an eye hole. Does the brim not impede aim? The heavies have an actual helmet, or at least a grilled metal faceplate hooked onto a mask. I don't know what's going on with their volcano science fair project up top there. Coral coming out of a chimney? I wonder if they even know what it is. We also have the elusive pot helmet night bandits, who I failed to get close-up footage of due to their elusiveness. But rest assured, they wear pots. Based on our experience with the city merchants, do you think these guys are drunks? Bob the Carpenter Bandit utilizes a color variant of the patched leather scarecrow design. He's differentiated by adopting more muted browns. Catherine, the Bandit Alchemist, has one of the coolest and most incongruous designs in this world. An actual gas mask over a green bubble helm, atop which a jaunty feathered hat is perched. Do you think the sphere is open where her mouth is so the gas mask can function? These are the questions, people. You may have picked up on this already, but she actually reuses the crystal ball head used for Cassandra the Fortune Teller. I guess not so unique, Cassandra. They just turned Catherine's swirling mist green. and added a gas mask to denote her as something of a poisoner. Tidnab, the bandit astrologer, whose name is, cleverly, bandit spelled backwards, has one of my favorite mask designs, and hers is another example of being just a hat turned into a full head covering. Basically, they poked out eye holes in a bicocket hat with a long red feather. It gives her a shrewd look, appropriate for an astrologer, and I'm not sure if this is an intentional design choice, but looking at the profile of her hat and feather from above evokes a clock hand or compass needle, to my eye, adjacent in my mind to her discipline. Do astrolabes have hands? Let me know in the comments if astrolabes have hands. And with that, I believe I've covered all the designs I wished to. If I missed any standout masks, let me know. I always appreciate when a game has a cast of characters with a united design philosophy. Not every game should have that. In fact, most shouldn't, aside from the uniting art style. But the ones that do are fun because you're excited to see how each new character design plays to the theme. And it's nice to see that there's some verisimilitude in these characters' masks as relates to their personalities or roles. I'll leave you with a shot of this stinky kid